Good morning and welcome to the little tutorial on I'm going to show you how to color in the sheep here and how to give him some texture, and we're also going to color in his skin and his clothing. So we're going to do it little by little, step by step, so the video is not going to be long. Alright, so I thought first we'll start with his skin, and I'm going to be using some of my new Copic sketch, the 25th anniversary ones. They're so cool, you have to see these. They have the regular nib, and they also have the fine tip as well. Pretty cool. So what's missing is the chisel, which not many people use. I don't use unless it's like for plaid work or design work or something like that. That's how I use it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start off with his skin, and I'll just leave that there, and I'm hoping you can see that there. And so I'm just going to lay down my first base coat. I'm not going to be worried about whether it gets onto his clothing because it's all going to be earth tones. Now, I printed mine out on Stampin' Up! Whispering White paper, so the reason I did that was because I knew that the ink would smear a little bit. And as you can see, I'm cleaning up my brush right now because I wanted to give him a more grungier look without working it with the markers. Okay, so otherwise what I would have done is print it and heat set it so that the ink would stay and dry. And then we'll come in with my E11. And I'm just doing where there's shadows, and just to define his features a bit. And again, I know that my ink is running, interacting with my Copics, so, but that's okay. As I said, that's what I'm going for. Otherwise, I would recommend heat setting it and letting it, making sure. And then always clean your nib. Okay, so I'm going to let that, oops, we forgot the arms there. The hands need some shadows too, right? Yes, of course. So I just used the E11, and I'm going to go back in with my E00. Okay. And now I'm going to tackle this little guy here, and I'm going to start with the base of E42. And it's nice that they've shown you again, even though they left it the same. You always know which is the brush tip by the gray bar there. So they've done the same here with the 25th anniversary, so you're not flipping sides there. So I'm going to start off with my base, and I'm going to color all of him. Because these guys have been in the desert. They're not going to be fluffy white. They're not going to be clean. Alright, so there's my base. And then the next one I'm going to be using is E43. And now here's where you can get really creative. And I'm just going to move it up here so you can see. Here's where you can get really creative, and you can do stuff like, you can do dots, or you can do just very lightly, you're just grazing over the paper, and you can do just random scribbles, you know, and then you build up. Okay, so that's basically what I'm going to be doing. Is I'm just going to be doing random scribbling all around my little sheep here. And some spots I'm going to leave it and I'm barely even touching the paper, because the more you apply to the paper, the more ink will, here I'll show you. So if I'm just grazing like this, I'm just going to get like that, and you can see where I put pressure more on some areas there. Whereas if I let my ink sit on the paper, do you see how heavy that is? And we don't want that, because what we're trying to do is build layers. And so I'll do the same up here, just barely touching the paper. And I'm going to go back again. And like I said, I'm not working with the greatest paper. Normally I would not work with this kind of paper, but I knew that it was going to give me the results that I wanted, the more grungier. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so E44, because I don't know how much it's going to feather, okay? That's why I'm being really gentle too, because I don't know how much it's going to feather because of the quality of paper. So this is my darker one. So here I'm going to be working on my shadows. Again, I'm going to be going really lightly, and I always start off with, just to get my hand into the feel of what I'm doing, I do little practice strokes there on the side, and then I begin. And I'm not going to cover him with this because it's basically going to be just the shadows, and I'm barely even touching. So I know there's going to be shadow underneath his head there. My finger is not. I'll try to go more at a slant there. I think that was a hoof. A hoof. Okay. And I'm going to do his little, under his belly. And there we're just, now what we're doing is just defining him, like making him not so flat, right? Give him some definition. And he looks fuzzy, right? Because we're doing all those squiggly lines, he's going to look a little fuzzier. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see it better. Okay. I'm just checking my time there. Alright, so now I'm going to do the top of his head same way. I'm just going to do some very light, barely touching the paper because I have less space here to work with. So I'm going to be really careful because I don't want to accidentally get his hand. Sorry for all the background noise. And I'm going to leave the right here, the top, nice and light because that's going to be the highlighted area. And in the corners, I'll let it dry a little bit. And just to dry it, you would just, you could wait a second or two. Another thing is you could just shake it off and then bring it back. Or you could always just introduce a darker shade. And I wish I had a darker shade. Let me see what number this is. 44, 5, 6, 47. I might use 47 with the fine tip from the anniversary one. So I'm just going to go around here. And as I said, I'm barely touching, just grazing over. And that was a hoof there. Missed that. And I'm just going to round it off. Probably even just kind of almost defined there, that there would be a bone sort of thing. Okay, so he's looking pretty good. Alright, so I was mentioning the E47 because E47 has the fine tip, right? And I'm just going to try it out here. And it's okay because it's not as dark as I thought it would be. I don't have it in my book. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. Okay, so there's our little sheep right now, and we need to color him in such a way that he is going to be, he can't be pink, right? So I'm thinking E50, E53, maybe E55. So I'm going to pull those colors. How much time do I have there? Okay, here we are. So E50, and I'll pull E53, and let's see what happens to his little face. His ears, I'll give him a little bit of pink. And, oops. See what I mean about, I had hoped by now it would have dried, but it did not. But that's okay. Paper matters. Okay. I wanted the grunginess for the guy, but not for the little sheep. Because now he looks kind of teary-eyed. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in some shadow. It's probably, I should have just maybe heat set the sheep and not the fella. But this is good because you're seeing what happens when you're using certain papers. You would never have this happen with your Copic Express. So I'm going to come back and put a little bit more because I really liked and I think I am going to give him just a little bit of pink, and I'm going to avoid going over the eyes. Okay, and I'm going to pull the pink, and I think I'm going to use, I pulled my R20, but, you know, it's always best to pull out your book and see what you're dealing with. So here's your R20, that's pretty pinky. I'll probably go with an R11 because I don't want it really pinky. So I know I have R11 because R11 is more the flesh skin tone. Okay, he looks like he's weeping. That's too bad. Now I'm upset. I'm upset like he is. Okay, but we'll try to make him happy by giving him some blush. There we go. And I'm going to go back with my base color, which was the E50, and I'm going to blend it in. And I want the ears just a little bit more pink. And he's been in the sun, so I'm just going to give him a little bit. Just a little bit. Let's close that. Go back with my E50 and blend it in. Because now he's got more of a tan. And I'll do the same with my little sheep. I'm just going to try to leave a highlight there in the center of the nose. That kind of blends in the streaking there. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and fix his hand. Make sure I'm using the right ones, E00 and E11 for his skin. And I got some of the grungy there, so that's good. I'm going to try to see if I can neutralize this here. Okay. Alright, it's coming together. And I'm just doing under his chin. Okay. And we'll just do some shadow. And don't be afraid to move your image around either. I'm just going to do some shadow under his hair here. And his ears. There we go, because he's got the hot sun over him. Okay. And I am going to put some peach fuzz on him because it's smeared a little bit more than I had wanted to. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to go with the colors that I used on the sheep. Yes, I think that's what I'm going to do. So basically I'm going to start off just by creating, just dotting. Where I want his little beard to go, because he's been in the desert for a long time. There you go. And I'm just gently dotting. There's so many different techniques, and the first time I was introduced this was over at another blog, Some Odd Girl,